Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Alicia Hackett on the podcast, coming to us all the way from Florida, as I like to pronounce it sometimes. She's a bodybuilder on here to, share her health and fitness journey and, discuss all things health and fitness. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Alicia, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you.
Well, I asked this question to every single guest. First off, what is the weather like today in Florida?
Well, it's kind of cloudy, but it's hot. It's like 80, but there's a little bit of clouds. My friend actually wants to meet at the beach after this. So living life. Come on down to Florida.
I've been to Florida once. So for baseball, my senior year of high school, we went to Vero Beach for our spring trip.
Okay.
And hung out there. I was just surprised about how many like geckos you guys got running around. How they're like the squirrels of Florida, basically. Where it's just like we used to do a thing where we capture them and then we put them like in our teammates' beds and stuff like that when they were like, it was ridiculous. I mean, hey, I like the weather. It's a little too muggy for my taste at times, but hey, anytime that you can go to a beach, it's fine. Yeah, I would go to Florida in a heartbeat right now, especially looking outside as it's 30 degrees and we still have snow that's melting because it was snowing yesterday and it's 31 degrees out right now. So before we dive too deep into that, because I don't want to depress half the listeners and just be like, because like I said, I hate having guests from Florida and California on because they just make me depressed and feel horrible about myself and my current living situation. Alicia, why don't you just start us off by giving us your backstory and what inspired and motivated you to become a bodybuilder?
Okay. So I grew up playing soccer, and that's kind of where the legs came from. And then I knew I wasn't really going to go professional with it. I wasn't like super into it. It was just like something to pass the time. So I kind of like was out of like health and fitness for a couple years, gained a ton of weight. Then I had an ex who was a bodybuilder and he was like, "You should come to the gym with me." So I went to the gym with him, fell in love with it. I can remember the very first exercise was leg extension. Love that. It was the church. So yeah, sadly it was an ex that got me into the gym, but I made it my own and I actually competed before him and won my class. Well, second overall, but won my open class. So yeah, that was a pat on the back for me. So you can go cheat. I'm just going to go win trophies.
Oh, I mean, the difference between men and women, my first exercise was obviously a bench press. And, then the women, like, leg extensions. I was like, okay, that's how. So the legs, unfortunately, that was the one thing that, still to this day, I could inject pure muscle into my legs and they're not going to, gain an ounce for me. Don't even get me started on calves. That's the number one. That's the most genetic body part of all time. I don't care what anyone says.
It is.
So,
I will agree with you.
My back was the one thing that really, really took off. But to make me feel better, what was one body part that really dragged behind for you since your legs were obviously the thing that took off?
It still drags behind, and it's the staple of wellness, which is the glutes. And it's like the most annoying thing for me. They are catching up, but that's like the lagging body part that I wish would just like, get with the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Glutes. I mean, luckily, I don't really have to worry about my glutes as much. So, hey, that's more, I guess that's a benefit to me though, too, as well. But when you were getting started, were you always a wellness competitor or did you start off in bikini and move up? Where did you start at?
No, I mean, as you can kind of tell, I'm kind of stocky. I was never smaller. I used to want to be smaller, and then like I got a coach, and I wasn't really thinking about competing. A friend actually told me if I wanted to be a coach myself, I would have to compete to show like, hey, I can do it, you can do it too, type of thing. So I reached out to a coach around here in Melbourne, Florida, that was like really highly praised and like referred to by a ton of people. I actually saw some of his clients like compete themselves and they looked awesome. So it was more about just like getting the look I wanted because I didn't have the person who brought me into the gym anymore. So it was more about that. And then he was like, dude, I see your potential like 110%, like you should compete. And so he was kind of the one who pushed me to compete. But I decided to. I don't want it to make it seem like he was the one who made me do it. But yeah, like I was always wellness. He told me it was wellness. I was never bikini. I'm too big for that. I'm like a Mack truck, I like to call myself.
Yeah. Did you have any reservations about the sport before you got started? Because like the general public has so many myths and misconceptions about the sport that like it's amazing to me that a lot of these guests that I have on don't have as many reservations as it seems like a lot of people do.
So I'm kind of like a hermit, so I don't really know. I didn't know about the culture or like the reservations or anything about it. I know like there's a lot of deaths this year and last year with men's, especially men's open, and there's controversy around the vaccine contributing to that. So that's kind of sketchy. I don't think I'm ever going to be in that category where I'm going to have to worry about that. I didn't get the vaccine myself. I'll say that. I don't really care. But yeah, so any bodybuilders out there who are men open, like just be careful about the vaccine and if you're doing anything, if you know what I mean, just talk to your coach, keep your health in check. But no, I didn't really have any reservations. I kind of just live my life singly in my house and then go to the gym and come back and the grocery store. That's about the extent.
I've been living that life for like the last 4 years, everyone. So yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about when it when
Yeah.
it when it comes down to that. I mean, when you were getting started too, this is just so much more of a mental transformation that is a physical change. And the only unfortunate part about that is that like people in the general public are just going to say like, "Oh my God, Alicia, you look amazing." They're not going to realize that mental change that has happened as well. But what has this journey been like for you mentally?
Oh, that's crazy. It's been a complete 360. Like, obviously, confidence goes up once you start seeing progress and your body starts changing and everything. But like that just amplifies into everything. Like my career, like I don't settle for anything anymore. I was like a codependent person in the past, like with relationships. Like I needed that person, and now like it's so hard to find someone I want to spend time with because I like my own time. You know what I mean? So the mental shift definitely went from like this lost soul type of person into like this boss ass. And it's still evolving. It's like I still have low days, obviously. Like I'm still like, oh, I look like today. But um you get over that a little bit quicker. And like you have that like self-confidence and efficacy of like, okay, like yes, it's low, but that's life. Like there's just waves of highs and lows, and like the way that you um can structure those lows to kind of contribute to the highs is like key.
Mhm. How long did it really take you to sort of figure that stuff out for yourself? Because some people, like, it takes them years upon years to be able to figure that stuff out. And for other people, they just seem to be born with the fact that, like, oh, hey, you know what? I'm better off on my own and I can really do this stuff. Because unfortunately, this lifestyle is sort of a hermit esque lifestyle where it's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't limit it, or I mean, it limits your social time for sure.
So it comes down to self-awareness. I don't know if you can agree to that. I feel like
Yeah.
you are pretty self-aware yourself. But like I had to kind of hit rock bottom kind of like most people with their stories. Like you kind of like got to hit that point where you're just like you don't want to be here anymore type of feeling, and you got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. And I feel like I went through that like a few times in the span of like a year or two, like cycles of it. Cause yeah, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty in the beginning of this journey. I think my coach can attest to that. He kind of mentored me through a little bit of it. But it kind of it grows, but it definitely starts with that self-awareness that you get at rock bottom. Like you need that in order to be like wake yourself up. You got to wake up pretty much.
No, yeah, I mean, rock bottom, it's a bad place, but it's also a good place in other areas too, where I mean, it's like you really, the only way is up after that. But getting into this sport, as well, there are just so many things that the general public is not aware of. And another big thing is that, just the eating part. I mean, like, let's be honest. That is, so much. Like I told you, that's one of the reasons why I've never competed, just because of that damn nutrition. But what were some of the biggest nutritional changes that you made when you first got into this? Yeah, and she showed us it. She showed us it right there. But what were some of the
Like,
biggest changes that you made, nutrition
oh,
wise?
I was not a healthy eater in the slightest. It definitely took a little bit to get into the whole ground turkey and rice 6 times a day type of thing. And I started out with like cutting because I was heavier. So it wasn't really about like force feeding myself rather than like not eating anything. I was eating like asparagus and ground turkey like 6 times a day with just like pre and post meals with a little bit of rice, like 70 grams. So I definitely I felt the hunger and prep part of the bodybuilding thing first. And this year, I want to say like I'm the most consistent and the food is the highest it's probably been. So I'm happy, to be honest with you. Like I miss food. I miss eating. I love Metrics bars. Do you know what Metrics bars
Yep.
are? Mm, yeah, those things they kind of mess me up after post show, but we won't talk about that.
What is your go-to post-show meal?
So, I think I had a burger and fries, kind of like everybody else at like a TGI Fridays, and then like some type of cookie or something like that. But it escalated after that because it was my first one, and we dove into some metrics bars. Like I said, like that. We love them. I probably have like 2 or 3 a day for a couple weeks.
We'll get into post-show blues in a little bit. That's an area that I cover in and of itself, in and of its
Okay.
topic. But I mean, yeah, just nutrition. Most people do not understand that, and that's the biggest crux for so many people. But I mean, just living this lifestyle, it's so hard at times. And how do you find that extra added motivation in and of itself to, still push through on those days, like you said, when you're just feeling like crap? Because that's what differentiates, I think, bodybuilders from the general public is, the general public, they'll find every single excuse to be like, oh, let's just take the day off. Let's not do stuff where it's like with bodybuilding. No, I have to get this done. Where do you think that comes from? And how are you able to pull through on those days when everything is just feeling like crap?
Yeah. It goes back to the self awareness thing. I just know the alternative. Like if I don't do it, I know what I'm leaving on the table, and I know what I'm like. You know how like it says you're either going after something or you're gaining something or losing something, and there's no in between type of thing. So if I don't do it, I know that I'm going back to that depressed, terrible mindset person. Like that's what motivates me is just knowing the alternative. And that's with anything, like even a career. Like if I if I had two alternatives and I went with one that was like, let's say remote, or one that was in person but has like a ton of money, like what brings me the most happiness? You got to know the alternatives, and then like that's where you put your priorities.
Yeah, I don't understand those remote workers, to be completely honest, because like I need to be like around
Oh,
people.
I want remote work. What?
Oh my god.
Son, let me
I
tell
gotta I gotta be around people that I can just with. No, again, I hate driving to work. I hate the commute. I hate everything else like that. But yeah, those remote. I mean, my little brother's a remote worker too, and it's like he's watching movies while he's on his laptop, doing his work, and it's like,
that like a career, like
no, no,
project
no, no, no. He no,
management or
he has a
something.
career. Like he's a salesman, stuff like that. But like he can just watch movies while he's doing it and stuff like that. Like he'll have movies playing in the background while he's doing his job. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Okay, I've never had a remote job. I want one, so I didn't know that. Damn.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I need that because I want to be able to go to the gym twice a day.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that, or you'll just get like how when I was in college, just doing UPS stuff, where it's like you're gonna get a nice back because you're gonna be unloading trucks all the time. So I mean, that's a good enough a workout as it is. But it's just that time thing. It's like, yeah, when your entire day revolves around like when can I get to the gym, it adds on a lot more stress, and I've dealt with that myself personally, and it's just hard to sort of find that balance and that equilibrium. But I mean, like finding a personal trainer is the one thing that I've heard from so many guests on here that it really does help. So that's one thing that I can recommend to everyone out there. And what does that change like for you, that moment that you're going to prep and everyone just doesn't understand that like that is the probably the ugliest part about the sport is is the prep, just because like you are just dieting down so much, you're doing all this cardio, you got to become so focused on it. But what is that mindset change like for you, and have your preps gotten easier as your career in the sport has gone on, or are they still just as hard?
I love how you said my career in this. So I've only done one show. Like I'm very new to this. Like I'm only a year in. I'm debating on doing the Daytona Beach Classic this year. My coach has like a very strong feeling that I could like do well in the show. So that's on the back burner, but we're thinking about it. I told him I kind of wanted to grow all through 2022 and then see where the physique is at the end of the year, and then prep because I want to keep the momentum because this is a game of momentum. Like when you get your nutrition and everything on point, like your body, it just expedites. You know what I mean? So I kind of want to ride that since I'm doing super well with training and nutrition, but we might do another show. What has changed with the prep? I think since I came in with my coach and having to cut super hard in the beginning, that was like my first prep without having a show. And if I can do it without having like an end goal, I was just doing it, being hungry nonstop over and over. I don't think anything's gonna compare to that, to be honest with you, because I did that for about like 6 to 8 months of just starving. Sorry, I don't think that we can cuss, but um, just starving, and I don't think anything's gonna be worse than that. My prep for my show was actually a lot easier than when I first came on with Loud. So I don't know how the next prep is gonna be. Stay tuned and I'll let you know.
I can't believe that you just said that your prep was easier than it was when you first came. I mean, and I've had a handful of people that have said that, and it's just like, okay, your prep was easy. So hey, that's a good problem to have, I guess. That your preps aren't as hard as when you first came on. So yeah, because I mean, I look at those preps and I'm like, God, that is the one thing that I just look at where I was like, I could never really do a full one myself. But when it comes down to this lifestyle, most people do not understand that the hardest thing for so many of these competitors is the posing side. Never would have guessed it in a million years myself before I started this podcast, but I like to compare it now to being like a perfect driver where you can be a great driver, you can never be a perfect driver. You can be a great poser, you can never be a perfect poser. It's always ever evolving. What has your experience with posing been like?
Yeah, I'm actually just starting to get back into like doing it regularly now. You can see that on my Instagram, but um yeah, posing, that's it's the grace side. So there's like the grunt side and then there's the grace side. You got to like put it together and that's like where the art comes in. Um I'm sorry, there was a neighbor I don't recognize. But
We might be
posing,
witnessing a home invasion right here, people, so stay tuned. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what that was. That was weird. Um, but posing core, like train your core, son. Like I need to keep training core. I do train core 3 times a week, but we gotta like, yeah, because it's about breathing too. Like you gotta like keep it like high in your chest and like keep your belly button sucked in, and you start sweating. Like 5 minutes feels like 15 minutes. So yeah, all those like competitors out there, I know I'm new, but just do it in between sets. You probably heard it from other people, but do it. Trust me, it's gonna help you in the long run. Because you don't want to shake on stage. Like that's like the fear is like falling or shaking on stage because you're not like conditioned enough to do it. And you can be super conditioned like physically, like you have striations and everything, but if you don't hold your poses, that's a different ball game. You know what I mean?
You mentioned train core, and I had that problem where I trained core almost every single day when I was like first getting started. So like I had those abs that like they popped out a little bit where it was like your belly looked a little bit bigger than it actually was just because of the muscle that got into it. So yeah, everyone, I do got to mention that do not overtrain a body part because then it just looks weird. Because that was my thing too, where like I'd get off training core for like almost a year just to get it to look normal again, where it was just yeah,
Were you doing body weight or were you doing weighted?
both.
Okay.
All the time. That was like
Okay.
that was like 20 minutes of every workout. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you just did body weight without the weighted, you could do it every day and
Yeah.
you won't overtrain it. Cause I mean, you use your core to like walk around and stability and everything. So,
Oh, just the non-body weight was like what was it? Like 600 crunches and then it was and then it was 300 of those leg things where you go in and out
leg raises.
no, not leg raises. Where you're sitting down and then your legs go
Oh, in
flat
and
and then
out?
yeah, in and out. Yeah, I would do 300 of
Okay.
those and then I would do some weighted stuff. Yeah, after that. That was my warm up actually before every time and then it would be an hour of working out. This was my college time when I had a lot more free time. Yeah, so that and then that was also after I did 3.5 miles of running as my warm up too for that. So I had a lot of free time, everyone. So I was in the gym for like 2.5 hours. So yeah.
Sounds about right.
I
Like,
mean, yeah, it was. I let's just be honest, that was the time that I enjoyed the most because that was the time where I could go into the cafeteria afterwards and have like 6 or 7 hamburgers and not put on an ounce of fat. So hey, never had that many, but I could have if I wanted to. Where
yeah, I feel that. I feel
yeah,
that.
so there's at least with that. But yeah, I mean, and with the posing thing, I mean, just that conditioning is just the thing that needs to be on point and that it's not talked about as much as it is because yeah, I've seen some. I've never been to a competition myself like in person, but I've seen them on on video and stuff where you see some people struggling and you're just like, oh, that poor thing, they must not have worked on that posing so much that they're just shaking on stage and you're just like
That poor thing.
yeah. And I mean, those heels that they make you wear, what has been your experience like with that? Because I know some women, they're born in high heels basically like that. And I know other ones where it's like a deer in headlights.
I'm in the middle. So I like when I was younger, I would definitely wear my mom's shoes, and I actually got a pair from Ross one time when I would walk around the neighborhood. I'm talking about little, little, not like at the point where it'd look bad. But but like now,
I was gonna
looking
say, yeah,
back,
like a 10-year-old Alicia, just
no,
like
no, no.
walking.
But actually, that yeah, I need to work on it, to be honest with you, because it's a little shaky. I think that was one of the factors that probably played into me getting second overall, because I didn't practice walking to the back, and that's completely different than just walking to the front. And I didn't think I was gonna get into like the overall, you know what I'm talking about, like placing in the overall. I wasn't confident in myself enough to think that I could get there, so I never practiced it. And then I was there against this one other girl. I love her, by the way. Her name's Gabby. She's awesome. She definitely deserved
Gabby
it.
DeLuca.
No, it's like
Oh, okay.
Tablon, something like that. Yeah, I can send her her profile.
Just because I've had a Gabby on from Florida like twice, and I think she's also wellness. And I was like, oh, is that her? Nah, never mind.
Oh, okay, okay. But yeah, like when I was watching my tape, I almost tripped at the very end, and they're like, "Turn around," and I almost ate it. So I practiced the turnaround a lot since then.
Yeah, that is, again, there's so many little idiosyncrasies about the sport that the general public just does not understand. That it's like people would never really tend to think that those high heels is going to be that much of a crux. And it's like, well, when you're that dieted down, even walking barefoot at times can be can be tricky for some of these people. But yeah, and I mean, I said that we talk about it. I mean, post-show blues is one thing that I love to talk about because most people do not understand that look that you present on stage is not sustainable. You're not going to look like that 365 days out of the year, unfortunately. And a lot of people do struggle with that because it's like the human body is not meant to be in that much of a shape for, as long as it is. But what was that journey like for you sort of after the show, realizing that like, hey, for as much work as I put into this look, it's not sustainable and I'm not going to be able to look like that all the time.
Yeah, that was rough. I will tell you that. I kind of binge watched a ton of YouTube videos of people doing the post show food thing and like going to different restaurants and everything. And I was up at like 3 a.m. because like when you're that dieted, like you can't sleep very much. And I was just watching it, just drooling. And I was like sending it to my coach, like, can we go here? Can we go here? And he was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Like, I promise you, they hate themselves after they do it because your insulin sensitivity. Like, if you eat a ton of fat and carbs, it's just going to go straight to fat storage. It's not going to like be utilized. It will be utilized a little bit, but if you go overboard and consistently, it's just going to start packing on. And so I tried my best to listen to him. And I got into this whole binging spell afterwards, and it was just terrible. And it was a great learning curve. I'm really happy that I went through it just because now that I'm like in this mindset and like super focused and just on it with everything, it's just like it won't happen again. Like I know what the feeling is like and I know how to like mitigate it now. But let me tell you, do not do it if you're watching this. Listen to your coach if they're like, no, we're going to reverse diet, we're going to be slow about it, we're going to keep your insulin like in check, and just listen, just do it. Don't watch those YouTube videos and think that those people like themselves a couple days after, because I promise you they freaking hate themselves and cry and think about like all the hard work that they put in and it went to shit, and you think that you're at square one, but really you're not. You're just like at square like 5 rather than 20. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, I'm thinking about that Five Guys that I'm having right after I'm done talking to you right now, and I'm just doing it's my Friday cheat meal, basically. Yeah, so I
Go to
gotta
Publix, get your 96 4 lean ground beef, some Martin's potato rolls. It's the same. I promise. I promise.
I also get a chocolate shake with
Peanut
it. I get
butter.
my chocolate shake with it though too. That's the one thing. Once a month, I get a chocolate shake. So once a week, I go to Five Guys because that's my go-to. It's every Friday for lunch basically, and then I once a month I add a shake onto that. That's my cheat schedule. So hey, I'm enjoying it today because I gotta get that pre-Easter intake because I'm gonna be having so many. I mean, that's Easter's the one day where I'm gonna let myself go to just because like chocolate bunnies and stuff like that they'll probably end up having at my. So, you got to prepare for that too, and all the jelly beans and everything. I don't get how jelly beans became a staple of Easter. I don't get whenever that became a thing because it's like, I don't get it myself. But
It's
yeah.
the colors. It's happy.
I know
Sugar.
the sugar I can understand, yeah, but it's like
Where else would they be? What other holiday would you have jelly beans on?
maybe they just don't deserve a holiday. Not every candy deserves a holiday. I mean, candy corn, yeah, that's gonna be Halloween, obviously, but then it's like Christmas doesn't really have a candy really for it, and like Valentine's Day, obviously they have those heart shaped things that are usually they got like the sugar on them and stuff like that, and then
Yeah,
yeah, not St. Patrick's Day. What are you gonna have other than those like those chocolate coins maybe for St. Patrick's Day? Which
Shamrock Shake.
that too. That too. But I mean it's like yeah, Easter's a funny holiday where it's like there's not that much really to to celebrate it with like food wise other than, Easter bunnies, which how a bunny became the whole thing. I'm going to have to do a history thing on that because
I'd love that
I got to realize.
personally.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I want to know well too because like the historian in me is actually furiously like angry that I don't know that already. So I'm gonna have to look that up because like I know how for Halloween like the jack o' lanterns used to be gourds in Ireland, like gourds like the food, and then when they brought them over here, they're like, oh, pumpkins are easier to do that stuff with. So I don't. It's a whole tangent right there, and everyone you got our little history tangent of the podcast out of the way right now, so we got it done here. But
That's
I
what
mean,
they like, though. That's what they
oh,
like. That's
absolutely,
organic.
absolutely. Like
Yeah,
I could really inject like a historical fact of the day or something like that into there. So I should do something like that though. But trust me, knowing some of these guests who, I mean, not some of these guests, but some of these audience members, has as much of as I've known them. If you say one thing off of bodybuilding, like, "What did you talk about bodybuilding?" It's like, shut up, dude. Run your own podcast, then. Start your own podcast. Contact 500 guests, have them on, and then come back to me. And then they'll get all offended, and they'll be like, "That's not very nice," and stuff like that. And I was like, you expect I'm a nice person just because I host a podcast and stuff like that? So it's I have a fun time trolling people that deserve it. So when it comes to this podcast, not just in everyday life, but it's it's one of my hobbies. Just to look on my Instagram feed, oh, who's talking bad about me, and then just write something stupid back at them.
it's the creative writer in you.
It's
It's
creative
like
in me.
prompt.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's my version of poetry, basically. So,
There you go.
but back in, I mean, just with this lifestyle though, too. I mean, Easter's a holiday. How do you deal with holidays when it comes to food? Because, like, I'm sorry, when it comes to Thanksgiving and Christmas, I know I'm gonna gain like 5 pounds, and I'm just gonna have to work extra hard to get it off.
I actually haven't had like a holiday meal or anything like that for the past 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. 2020, 2021. Yeah, 2 years. Um, I just my family is super supportive. Like they always ask me like when I'm over there like, "Hey, can you have this?" Like my mom doesn't even want to put salt and pepper on my chicken anymore cuz she thinks it's like bad for me. She's like, "I didn't salt or pepper it. It's just plain." I'm like, "Thanks."
More as my mom would be like, "You're gonna eat it and you're gonna enjoy it," basically. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, my mom used to be like that, but she knows like this is like a goal and it's going to take years. So I'm happy. At first they were kind of concerned because I was eating so little and I was like losing weight a lot and they were kind of concerned. They're like, you sure you like don't need to eat anymore? Like, are you okay?" And I'm like, I'm fine. And then once I like started eating food again, my parents are now like, are you sure you should be eating that? Like they're on the opposite side. They're on my coach's side. They're like coaching me when I'm over there. So with holidays and stuff, like it's kind of easy for me because they know. So they don't put bad food in front of me on purpose. Like if there's cookies or something, because my brother has a bakery
Oh
and
God.
he bakes every time I'm over there, and it just smells so delicious. Um,
What does he
but
specialize in? Like, what's his go-to thing? What's the thing that he probably bakes the best?
probably cookies. Like people order cookies a lot, so he does cookies a lot, but he does like breads, cakes. Cypress Bakery, look him up. He does it all. But it's yeah, please buy them so like I don't have to like eat
If he
them.
ships, I might. If he ships, I might have to order some from him.
Dude, do it. He does ship them.
Okay.
He does them off of Etsy.
Okay, I might have to. I might have to get some. I will definitely look it up after this, though. Yeah, but at the minute you said bakery, I was like, "Oh God, Ryan, don't get started in this again." You worked
What's
so hard. You worked so hard to clean up your COVID weight that you gained. Now, don't ruin it again. And I'm just like, "Oh God," but she said bakery, everyone.
Yeah, what's your favorite cookie?
So this is a fact that I did not want to release, but I am the most plain Jane ever when it comes to food. Where a sugar cookie for me is just fine. For me, like anything, I'm just plain like pizza, just like cheese. A hamburger. So my hamburger order that I'm going to get at Five Guys when I'm done talking to you is just a plain hamburger with just ketchup. That's it.
Get the dang lean beef. Let me coach you. Go get the lean beef. It's the same thing. It still has fat in it. I'm telling you. If I was in Minnesota, I would cook one for you and you wouldn't know
If
the
you were in
difference.
Minnesota,
I
you'd be frozen. Let's
promise.
be honest. You would freeze to death. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
Florida people would not fare that too well. I always find it funny. So like, yeah, the Dodgers were playing here yesterday against the Twins, or 2 days ago, against the Twins, and it was like 35 degrees, and they're acting like it's the apocalypse out there, and we just sit here and we laugh at them. But hey, that's yeah. If you were in Minnesota, yeah, I've always found that to be funniest thing whenever they come up here. But I bet, yeah, you would get on my case about it, but I'm glad now that we are separated by a couple thousand miles or 1,000 miles or so. Then, because then I can sort of enjoy myself a little bit. But hey, I'll even send you a video of me eating the Five Guys then, just so that you can be like,
Bet.
he's not. I'll be like, look, it's not lean beef, and it's it tastes
Tag
so great, but
tag
yeah,
me in your story.
absolutely, yeah. So yeah, there's that. But you mentioned what your family's reaction was like. What were your friends' reaction like when you announced them like, hey, I want to give bodybuilding a try? Because that's not something that a lot of young 20 like people in their 20s normally hear from their friends, and they're just like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so my friend Peyton got me to get the coach. That was the person who was like, I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? And I got my NASM certification and nutrition certification. And I was like, I want to or no, I don't want to compete. I want to coach people, and like that's kind of what I want to do. And I'm still open to doing that. I'm still taking on clients, so you guys can hit me up for that as well. Alicia Wellness NPC. Um, but she was like, if you want to coach, you're gonna have to prove yourself. And that was the whole conversation. I literally hit the guy up the next day and went from there. I didn't really have friends other than her, so that was my only friend, and she was the one who told me to do it.
Oh, so she's the one that's asking you to go to the beach after this?
No, 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 this is somebody else.
So you're one other friend other than Peyton, basically.
Well, it's been a couple years. I've made friends
I,
since
I I make a
then.
friend every once in a while. Everyone, no, this, yeah. I get that, especially with COVID, yeah, where it's like I've had friends that I haven't seen for like 2 years now, and it's like, yeah, we might want to start hanging out again. So, yeah, I get that. So,
It's awkward.
yeah,
Like you guys don't have the same interests anymore. Like it's over.
that's the thing too. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Alicia's got to go to the gym again. Oh great, yeah, well, we're gonna go have some drinks while Alicia's. Yeah, we don't want her bringing her salad to the bar basically then while we're eating. Which I've heard plenty of those stories too, where it's like, yeah, I would kick you out of the friend group then if that happened. Where you're just like, let
Stop.
me.
No, you wouldn't.
I would. Well, I would make fun of you so much that you would
I'm
leave the
a lot
friend
of
group then.
fun. I'm a lot of fun.
As she's
I'll
stuffing
take
salad in her
shots.
face.
I'm allowed shots. Let's
I
go.
know. Well, yeah, you're from Florida, everyone. Like, let's be honest. Yeah, it's a different animal down there. But no, I love Florida, and I cannot wait till I probably go down there again. But it's just yeah, it's too crazy for me down there. I mean, just they go hard, and then you got to worry about crocodiles and alligators, and it's just like what
They're just water dogs. That's it. They're just
until they
little,
bite into you.
it's like pit bulls. Like if you piss them off, they can be dangerous, but they're also super cute.
Oh god,
I used to have a fear of alligators, and then like I started to understand them a little bit more, and I just
I've never heard someone describe alligators as cute before. So
yeah.
that's a first basically. But
I'll
yeah,
send you some reels. They're actually really cute.
maybe when they're babies and stuff like that. Yeah, but not when they're like 15 feet long walking on golf courses and stuff like that in front of people. No, I have a soft spot for Florida, like I've said before, but it's yeah, I mean just the whole bodybuilding thing and losing friends. Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that like, yeah, not everyone's gonna understand this lifestyle, not everyone's gonna get it. But like, let's also be honest, where it's like you're not the average looking woman. Where like, if you're to walk out in public dressed the way you are right now, I mean, it's like you are gonna get reactions just because when you're not looking of the normal, people's reaction is gonna be like, oh wow, that's interesting. I've never really seen that before. What has that been like for you as you've spent these few years in this lifestyle? Because I mean, it's like you are gonna draw more people's attention. Has it gotten easier for you to accept that, or is it something that you still struggle with?
A little bit of both. I kind of find it funny now because I actually like, or I'm starting to like the way that I look. I'm not like in love with how I look because I still have the vision, but we're getting there. And it's funny that you bring this up because I always go to 7-Eleven to get my Rice Krispie treat and a bang and maybe like a gallon of water if I'm running low. And
You're a
people,
bang girl.
I, yeah, I am. Sponsor me,
Yeah.
motherfuckers, because I need the money. But no, like that's the best if you need like an ego boost, just go to a 7-Eleven, get the loyalty member thing so you always go, and the people there will just make you feel like a celebrity, let me tell you. I had some guy try to pay for my stuff, and I was like, no, 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 like I have my own money, and he like threw it over me, which was kind of rude. And but Yeah, it's different, and I know it's just gonna, like, keep getting more so, like, the more years that I keep doing this, but I I mean, like, it's kinda like how some people say we bring it on ourselves. Have you ever heard of that?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kinda like that, like,
Like,
okay, like,
one of my guests said, "I have the mentality of, like, then if I look like a freak, people are gonna treat me like a freak." So it's like, well, you don't look like a freak, but I mean, like, I understand that sort of aspect of it, I guess.
well, it's kinda like a positive freak,
Yeah.
it's not like a bad
Oh, no, it's not like my eyes. People are just like, "Oh my god, what the hell is that?" Stuff like that. Yeah, where I mean, it's like you might get that reaction every once in a while, but normally, like 99% of the time, it's gonna be more positive. But you'll get some of those people who are just be like, "Oh my god, what the hell is this?" Stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah, that's insecurities.
yeah.
So I feel bad for them, and I try to make their day. Like anyone who's like coming at me negatively, like we have a ton of homeless people around here, especially like on the beaches, and they will just cuss at you. Like if they don't like how you look, they just come up to your window and just start calling you different names. It's crazy. They're all cracked out and everything. But um I don't know where the freak thing. So like if anyone's negative towards me or anything, like I'm so like you can't phase me type of thing. I'm just like, okay, like I know you're probably going through something because I've been there too. You know what I mean? And that's why I think I would be a great coach because I've been there. I've been in multiple lows and I know how to navigate out of them and I know how to mentor people out of them.
I mean, and this is also a sport that is, it's based on how you look, and that's just a sport that like it doesn't exist really in any other aspect of
Beauty
competitive.
pageants.
Well, yeah, but that's not really a sport, let's be honest, come
No,
on.
it's not a
Like,
sport.
drop if you watch the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous, you're not like, "Oh, yeah, that's a sport right there where everyone's gotta," I mean, it's the only sport where, like, you're judged on how you look, and how do you deal with that side of it mentally? Because, like, when I was a baseball pitcher walking out onto the mound, I wasn't thinking of, "Oh my god, is my are my calves looking nice as I'm strutting out to that mound," and stuff like that, and it's just a weird thing to really think of, like, where it's like, it's judged on how you look, and that's something that you can control, like, it's it's a personal sport where it's like you can only
Yeah.
control your results, but how do you deal with that mentally? Because I have only been in team sports where it's like I can always have someone else to blame if something bad happens.
So I did not thrive in team sports because I played soccer my whole life and I never clicked with anyone. I was never like a part of a group and felt like that was family. Like it was never I was always independent a part of the team, if that makes sense. So I liked that aspect
You're
of
that
it.
one girl on the team where everyone's like, "Yeah, let's not invite her out," or something. Like Alicia, come on now. Like
And I
every
wasn't
team has that
mean.
one person. Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't mean.
Oh no,
I
I know, but like that one person
no,
that
I
like
know.
doesn't that one person that's just separate from everyone else, where it's like they're just not. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like everyone meshes together, and then there's that one person where you're just like, yeah, they're a part of the team, they're a great contribution, but it's like they don't really contribute much to us outside of the team, really. Yeah.
Right. Right, that was me. And I desperately wanted to too. That was the crappy part. I wanted to like have friends and I wanted that, but I jumped around schools a lot when I was younger, so I never really like grew up with a group of friends or anything. I was always independent. So I think that's what made this sport even more attractive to me because I didn't really have to get along with anybody. Like it was just me. And the part about like accepting like how you look part of the question, when you're in prep, it kind of makes you a narcissist. I'm not going to lie. Like a healthy amount if you are a humble person. It could stray you to the other side where you're like a cocky, but most of the time if you're like a good like have a good head on your shoulders, you're not going to like stray that far on the what is
Let's
that
be
called?
honest. Whenever you walk by a mirror, it's gonna be like, "Damn, I look good" and stuff. Like, how hard is it for you to not walk by a mirror and not do some posing? Because that for me was the biggest thing for me.
Honestly, now it's a little bit harder, but I don't really like how I look. Like I like wear t-shirts all the time. Like I go to gyms like that people don't like to go to. Like I used to go to Crunch all the time and I don't like the attention. I don't like people hit me up on Instagram like, "Hey, I saw you at Crunch." Like like let's go out sometime. So I like to go to private gyms. I like to like jump gyms because I just personally don't like how I look. I just feel like I could look better all the time, and I guess that's the bodybuilder in me of like always wanting more. Um, so it's not really that hard. It's starting to get hard because I'm starting to like be consistent enough to where my waist is coming in. My waist is my like that that mother is just it's hard. It's hard to keep it tight. So, yeah, but like what I was saying with the prep thing, like you kind of get a little bit of narcissistic towards it. So on show day, you are ready. Like hopefully you are ready. You're just like, okay, like I'm here, I'm ready to work the runway type of thing. Like you need that. If you don't have that, you're not going to have fun and then it's going to show and you're going to look nervous. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and I mean, when it comes to this lifestyle, the number one thing that I hate more than life itself is cardio. I hate it more than anything, and when it comes to this, unfortunately, you sort of have to sign a deal with the devil when it comes to cardio. And when I say cardio, I mean like actual running. Like I can go on walks for forever. I live right next to a bunch of nature parks, so it's fine for me with that. But what is your relationship like with cardio?
I hate running and I don't have to run at all. Actually, I'm told not to run by my coach because it will burn muscle, especially like with how hard you train, it'll just burn it off if you continue to like have that consistent even like body weight of running. It's still like putting stress in on your muscles and it's just breaking it down. It's eating at the muscle. So I don't run, thankfully. I do some walking, maybe a little stairmaster on some shoulder days or something, but it's all walking and trust me, walking is enough. Put on a little incline, like 3 to 4 speed, you're cranking.
Yeah. Incline, yeah, don't even get me started on incline. I tripped one time, or I almost tripped. I caught myself because luckily I was having my hands on both railings, but yeah, that incline can be a tough thing. But you mentioned it before. Sleep is it becomes almost nearly impossible as you get closer to a show. How do you deal with that sleep thing? Because that to me is one thing where it's like if I don't get my beauty sleep, I'm like where I am right now, where I'm a little groggy and I'm out of it a little bit. Like let's be completely honest right now. How do you deal with those nights when you know like you might not get as much sleep, but you still have to go to the gym? That to me is the ultimate challenge. There are times in college where I pulled an all nighter and I went to the gym and I lasted about halfway through and I was like, okay, yeah, this is ridiculous. I'm just gonna go back and go to sleep. But how do you deal with that sleep woes that you incur as you get closer to a show?
Melatonin, really? It's just yeah, that's about it. Yeah, the gummies too, because then don't tell my coach that because you're not supposed to have any gummies. But yeah, like the gummies, I actually have the pills now just because they were cheaper. But yeah, melatonin and team cannabis. So both of those, really.
It's still illegal in Minnesota, so everyone, I'm
Okay, I don't advocate
yeah.
medical.
I'm gonna say that I don't advocate smoking weed, everyone, okay? So stay off of it. It's bad stuff. You're gonna get addicted. Next thing you know, you're gonna be on crack cocaine, and it's just it's
It's a
just a
gateway.
never ending spiral. Yeah, it's a gateway drug. It's not even a gateway drug. It's the worst drug you could ever take. Are you kidding me? It's even worse than it. Yeah, stay clean, stay sober, everyone. I can't even say it with a straight face. But yeah. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, that does tend to help with sleep. I have heard from people.
But it's a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because you're prepping and then the munchies come on. So you
I'm
kind
too
of
high, or you can just be like, I'm too high to work out, basically like that.
that's happened. That has
Yeah,
happened.
yes, yes. There was one time in college where I could guarantee you I would not have been able to work out, after doing that. So yes, that is a struggle that you have to deal with as well. But I know that you've only competed in one show. But if there was one thing you could change about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
Oh, love this question. Why are there so many dang rounds? Like, can we all just come out and just like these individuals? Like, yes, for the pros, because like it's the pros. Like, you want to be able to see your person, whatever. But like amateur, like, can we all just come out, line up like cattle almost, and just, get it over with? I don't like how long it takes.
Yeah, some of these people do not understand that these shows can sometimes last all day, and when I say all day, I mean all day. So, like, whenever I've heard so many stories of, like people whose their parents come to their first ever bodybuilding show, and then they end up sitting there for like 10 hours, and they're like, "Okay, this is ridiculous. Like, just get her on stage," and then they finally go on stage. So yeah, if they
And I think that's why it's not as popular as like other sports, like live action sports, because it's just like, okay, like let's get on with the show. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to see all these individual people and then we're going to do the same exact thing. It's repetitive. So if you guys are listening to this out there, we love bodybuilding, but let's just like, make the flow a little
Mhm.
better.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with it any more myself. And when we do have you on a year from now, because I'd love to have you on a year from now to talk about, like what's been different with you and what you've changed. What's your goal a year from today? Like, where would you like to be at when it comes to bodybuilding, when it just comes to just your overall life? What are some achievements that you'd like to have when we do have you on a year from today?
Hopefully I'm either nationally qualified and going to be pro, or I'm a pro. Like that's obviously the goal for any competitor if they're like really into the sport. So somewhere close to getting a pro card. And I only say close because I need to put on like maybe 10 pounds more muscle on my backside and my delts, and maybe a little bit more quad. I have okay quads, but everyone loves my quads, but I want them more quad. Can't have any more or any less.
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I meant.
Oh no, I absolutely know, and that's the thing about bodybuilding is that like it's just so body part specific, where it's like it's hard to just put on muscle in just one area of your body without having it in any shape or form, on other parts. So it's all just about the micromanagement of the muscles and stuff like that, which is just a fascinating thing to me. But like, I want you to be completely honest. How many stairs or cat calls are you gonna be getting at the beach right now that you go to afterwards? Because even though you're not in competitive shape right now, I mean, it's like you're a body. I've always found that because like there's a video that I have where a guy bodybuilder even goes to the beach and just all the stares in the comments that he gets. Like, you should do that. You should just film yourself walking on the beach today and just see like what
Eh,
reaction you get. But
okay, I can do that. Heck
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that to me is
It,
especially the
it,
beach, because like Minnesota, like I can cover myself up where not too many people are gonna see that like I work out and stuff like that. So and that's like 6 months out of the year here because it's cold, but it's like we don't have beaches here. Well, we have beaches, but they're all artificial beaches on lakes, basically. So a lake is not a beach. I don't even get me started on that debate. But yeah, so there's not any that's so I could imagine down there it's a little bit harder to sort of hide the fact that you compete.
oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of like why I love it. Not like the hiding the fact, but I I live in my bikini, so I don't really care. I used to. Funny thing is I would not go to the beach for the longest time in my life just because like I didn't want anyone to see my body. Like I just hated myself so much. Like if anyone saw it, it would be like a crime against God almost. Like it was terrible. I hated it. But now I just don't care. Like even if I got the cellulite going and
Yeah.
we got the water kicking under the glutes and we're not looking our best and we're in off season shape, I don't even care
Yeah.
anymore. I don't really get cat calls very much. I don't know if that's weird, but I mean it happens every now and then. But mostly it's like the drunk sailor who's like,
the
"Hey,
thing
you
the
look
thing with like the thing with like
good
bodybuilders though, I think that some guys might be like intimidated by them too, where they're just like, I'm not gonna catcall them because like they're that's one thing is that people just assume that bodybuilders are just violent people. A lot of times we're just like, I don't want to get beat up and stuff like that. And it's like, what world do you live in where like you said, like you're not the tallest person, where it's like someone like me, I'm sorry, you could be as muscular as possible and I'm not gonna be intimidated by you just because I'm like a foot taller than you too. Kind of helps with that effect too, but it's like, yeah, that's one
I
thing that I've
like
never
it.
really
I
understood.
like that people think that. Don't talk to me, please."
Oh,
I'm like,
absolutely, absolutely. I love that too about it as well. Where it's like, yeah, I'm one of those people like when I go to the gym, it's like don't even look at me. Like
right.
don't even make eye contact with me. It's just like just leave me be, let me be in my own space. So yeah, I
The
totally
same
understand
way.
that. But I mean, Alicia, it was just so great to have you on and to share your journey with us. And I really, really appreciate it. And I just, I can't wait to see where you're at a year from now and see, if you've got your pro card or if you're just, living the life and just enjoying it. But again, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate you. I'm happy that you hit me up. This was awesome. This was super fun. I can't wait for you to like hit me up for the year. I can't
Absolutely. Well,
wait.
yeah, who knows what the year's gonna be like from now on? Because God, I mean, these I've when I so like I've done this 4 years and I've had one guest on for every single year of the four, and it's crazy to see how much it's changed just even in that little time. So yeah, who knows what the world's gonna be like a year from now? But I look forward to talking to Alicia again and having her
What,
on. But
can I ask you a question?
yeah,
What was like the biggest year transformation type of thing? Like what stuck out to you the most?
for any year of the 4 years or just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like what was like your like, oh wow, like you made a lot of progress and
I thought you meant like I was gonna be like, oh yeah, COVID probably, but no, yeah.
no,
So
no,
like
no.
uh I mean, there have been some guests where like you can tell that they were just taking like pure testosterone for a full year. Like I'm just gonna put it at that. Where like there's some
Yeah,
guests where
yeah, yeah.
you're just like okay, like you have gills now coming out of your neck basically, where it's just like like it's like come on, I'm not gonna name names, but like if you watch some of these podcasts, like there have been some guests I've had on multiple times where like the person's put on like 50 pounds of muscle almost. Not
Damn.
50, but like
Not 50. I know
I'm
what
over
you mean. I know
exaggerating,
what
but like
you
it
mean.
seems like they have, where it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
you're a
Yeah.
completely different person. So it's like, yeah, but yeah, they're a handful. I mean, there's been some guests that I've had on that like you can tell they're natural and they put on some decent amount of size, but it's like yeah, for some of the guests, like, yeah, I'll how about this? I'll tell you the names after we stop recording now. Then I'll
Okay.
give you all the things. But yeah, again, everyone,
Yeah.
go and follow Alicia. I really really appreciate it, and everyone go and check her out on her Instagram page. I'll leave a link down below, and like I always say, buyer beware. You will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating all those Twinkies. But again, Alicia, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.